And Nina, you're beautiful. You're great. You look really good. You look fantastic. Everything's fine.
Well, I don't. All I can see
Now,
is
for somebody who's a TI, you're looking damn healthy.
well, for somebody with ankles so swollen that they are currently my left side's better than my is almost normal. My right side, my feet. I'm just wondering if what you can see.
Well, at the moment we can only see the. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, your feet.
They're
We
red.
do see your feet.
They're swollen. Hang on a moment. I'll show you what I can.
Now, the thing is, Nina, it would be impolite if you then fell over and bashed your head and died on screen trying to show.
Well, I'm not going to, am I? But
I was just thinking
I'm
it
gonna
was
have
an
to.
idea that it would be improper for you to do that.
I think it'd be easier. I can't see anything because of the light, you see. But can you see my ankles or not?
Yeah, it looks a bit higher. Yeah.
Ah!
Okay.
And my foot's a purple colour. My hands are swollen as well. My legs are swollen. Look, I videoed the other day, and I sent you the link. And they have been. My legs have been swollen, but also my feet. Like the very first day it happened, it was either on Sunday or Monday of this week. And no, sorry, it was at the weekend. It was on Friday or Saturday. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself. It's only Tuesday now, isn't it? And I woke up and my legs were swollen, but I got out of bed and had no idea, obviously. I woke up, got out of bed, my soles of my feet were red raw, and I mean literally red raw. Now, with my hair, which is now the length you see, with all the many different lengths, with my hair, which I've never cut, beyond the one time where I cut 2 inches off, which I videoed, yeah, my hair has gone from the length it was when you videoed me in 2013 to the length it is now, without ever being cut. I mean, you know, it's ludicrous. Now, my head was on fire the whole time of 2015.
Now, what?
My hair started coming out in chunks.
Now, what exactly happened to lead
Spare
up
me
to
one
that?
moment. So in 2015, when my head was on fire the whole time and my hair was coming out in chunks from the roots, hence the different lengths where it's grown back, okay? And then after it started to grow back, when it then started to break from the bottom up, okay, my head being on fire, my point with my feet and the swelling is that when I woke up the other day and got out of bed and my feet were red raw underneath and so sore and swollen, it was a similar kind of feeling, and the skin really tender to touch. Similar kind of feeling. So it's definitely being blasted. It's a side effect of being blasted. You know, this is a side effect of EMF.
Why do you say you're being blasted as
Why?
opposed to just suffering some kind of summer rash? I'm
Well,
going
do you
to be
know
really, I'm going to be
anybody
really,
who can?
really the devil's advocate here. I'm
Yeah,
not going to let you
I
get away.
understand
I'm
that.
not going to let you get away with being, oh, I'm just suffering a bit of heat rash. I'm a target.
Well, seriously, have you ever heard about anybody's hair be waist length and break off from the bottom up in the space of a year and a half to go from being waist length to the length it is now? I mean, seriously, look at the back of it. Like, seriously, look at it. You know, I keep talking about it, and I've got all of these examples, and nobody seems like the apathy in this like truth movement. It's nuts to me. And, you know, for years I've been documenting.
Actually, I'm having a bit of fun just to try and get you to contort. Could
No,
you
I know.
stand up on your head, and then maybe we can see it? Or no, maybe I'm not taking it seriously.
No, it's really not funny, Miles, you know? And this is people's reaction. People are very kind because they say, oh, your hair looks lovely no matter what length it is. But that's really not the point. It's not about how my hair looks. It's about the fact that, look, at the end of the day, my hair has been falling out initially because my head was on fire. It wasn't just my head, my body was on fire too, for all of 2015 practically. And then my hair through all of 2016 was breaking from the bottom up. It's only stopped breaking at the same point as to where this would all have before it stopped breaking, where it's met the point of regrowth, basically. So this hair now is the hair which wasn't really targeted, apart from maybe like a couple of inches on the ends. But bear in mind, you know, most of this is regrowth, but it's not growing very fast. And so it's really not funny, you know, like it's really not funny. And then people like want to make out that I'm nuts and I'm imagining it. Well, okay, if I'm nuts and I'm imagining it, what happened to my cat who suffered every single same symptom as I did? When my hair was coming out, so was hers. When my nose was and eyes were inflamed and I couldn't breathe properly.
Have you talked to Jean McDonald about this? Do you remember Jean McDonald? She had a dog. Her dog took a lot of suffering when she was being targeted.
Well, yeah, like you said, like you yourself said to me that time, a lot of like, didn't you say like witches have had pets to see? I don't know if you said witches or how you termed it.
Well, no, they use the dog. You simply use the dog's higher senses or the cat's higher senses, and they will see, and then they're empathic with you. So it's one way of it's a bit like the nightingale, or what do you call it, in a coal mine.
Yeah, and that's okay when it's environmental targeting. If it's environmental targeting, then that's effective, isn't it? That works. But when it's the kind of targeting that is, because for this targeting for EMF, for specific like personalized targeting, I could be in a room with 10 other people and say they want to target 3 people in that room, okay? The 7 others would be oblivious. The 3 people being targeted, depending on what level they're being beamed at, one of them could just feel like, or a little bit off that day, you know, but not really realize why. Another one could feel like really irritable, for example. And then the third person's head could be on fire and they could be feeling like the skin's burning. And, you know, there's different ways of targeting. It's so easy. Everybody's got a different frequency. Everyone's got a different energetic footprint.
I mean, I think this is very important. People can, it's essentially, you have an IP address. Your auric energy field is like an IP address. So individuals can
that's a good analogy. I like that.
And for folks who don't know what an IP address is, it's an individual computer address. And one computer can receive one thing and the other computer will not receive it.
I think if I know what an IP address is, then surely everybody does. Because
you're a smart girl, Nina.
I'm not.
You are a very smart, intelligent girl. Well, you are.
It's really easy to target people. It blows people's minds because it's so traumatic and so disturbing to think that these things even that you know, it disturbs people to such a level that people that I've been really close to, that have seen firsthand what's been happening to me, people that have known me for years and years and years of my life, struggle to deal with what's happened to me. My own mother, the video footage of my legs, because I was worried about, I'm flying first thing in the morning. I'm flying to Spain, right?
Well, I'm very glad to hear that, because they do look good enough to fly, and hopefully they stay that way.
Yeah. Well, you can't see them properly on camera, but not at the angle I showed you. If you could, because they're not that different to how they were the other day when I was filming the footage, which I sent you the link to. My latest video shows my legs in full flow, and my right side's being hit worse than the left. Like my left ankle is almost not. But the long and short is, my mum said to me, this is the point of the trauma imprint is, my mum said to me, and she said the same thing about my hair, I can't look. It's too upsetting, right? So mum won't look. It's not that she's not interested. It disturbs her too much. She can't go there. So then I think, well, how do people think I feel? I'm living this, you know? But people cannot accept the EMF, and they can't accept that how easy it is to target on that level because it's too disturbing. It's too traumatic.
But
So people would rather think that we're crazy.
you did have
But,
this other friend, or this other person that came into your life. He was really bad news. Is that when it all started?
sorry, say that again.
You know, you had this other person in your life, this other woman.
My life hasn't ever started at any
No,
set
but this
point.
particular
My, my,
episode.
my life started when I was born, you
Yeah,
know.
but in terms of this episode with your hair,
My
was
hair,
there not an event?
my hair began in
Was
actually
this
my
after?
time.
Basically, I'm saying it was after the bases that we did that this started.
Yes, my warning was when a hairdresser hacked away at my hair just after we did our basis thing in June or July of 2013. Mum said to me, "Would I like my hair trimming because it was so long and thick at the time, and you know I've got really curly hair." When it's really long, it's quite hard to do stuff with because there's so much of it. And so to have a few layers cut in it, but keep the length, yeah, I just wanted just you know, the way I've always had it done. Just the length's still there. It's just not quite as thick, so it's easier to manage. Her hairdressers cut my hair loads of times. So I was like, yeah, great, you know. Surprised she offered because it's expensive. Her hairdresser is expensive. I couldn't afford to pay those kind of prices, not on racehorse wages. Anyway, so I went to see him. He had me stand up, and whilst he's telling me what wonderful long hair I've got, he was hacking away at it like a man possessed. He did my right side first, okay? And I looked at the floor in horror at how much he'd hacked off it. He'd done it in 2 steps. So he'd taken about, I don't know, about that much off the first step, and then about that much off the second step. So my hair was just literally in 2 different lengths, there and like down there. So that was the very first targeting. But by 2015, it had all grown back. The layers that he'd like hacked away at had grown back. He didn't charge me. He gave me loads of free hair products. Because of the fact he'd made such a botch job, he offered for me to keep going back to have more like hair like sessions with him, as if I was ever going to go back. I vowed that day the only person that would ever cut my hair again would be myself. I understand my hair. I know my hair. Why on earth get somebody else to cut it when, you know, I know it better than anyone else? So that was when the targeting began in earnest, I'd say. I've had warnings over the years. Hair's a target for everyone because of its spiritual wealth, you know?
Well, I have to say, a good few years ago, I did something to my hair. I just sort of grabbed the whole back of it and just cut the whole lot off right back to the back.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was just about to say women are renowned for when they split up with people to chop the hair off, you know? I've done it myself. When I very first woke up, actually, I had this thing where I kept hacking my hair off into, you know, about this length, shorter, probably about, yeah, as short as I can hack it without, you know, because if it was any shorter, I'd look ridiculous.
So remind people really what we were talking about there. I mean, you're talking MK Ultra here.
I'm talking, which basically was, I mean, I was talking about EMF actually, rather than MK Ultra. However, do you want to talk about MK Ultra?
Well, I mean,
you're talking about the targeting and the trauma imprint that it leaves behind. People just can't seem to go there in their mind, and they'd rather say someone's crazy than speaking an accurate truth, when all you have to do is look up scientific facts and this stuff's provable. You don't need to look on conspiracy sites. You just need to look up in science encyclopedias. It's all out there. It's nothing mysterious. It's been out for years.
Well,
the technology.
What can people who are being targeted look up? Can you help people who have got this problem? I mean, you're suffering. You're smiling. You're jumping around. You're for all intents and purposes, you're looking pretty damn good. But for others who are really trying to, you know, to help with this video, is there any way that they can fight back on
this? For me, the way I handle things is by understanding. And when I say understanding, I don't mean um, I don't mean like understanding in that I need to research everything out there, because I really don't. I need to understand, for me, this is how my healings come together, which has made my life completely different because I used to be very good at giving myself a hard time because all this trauma and hell's happened over the years, and you keep blaming yourself. You think there must be something wrong with me. I must be the problem. That's the natural
Yes,
reaction
that is
to what
very
they
much so.
say.
And they exploit that.
Yeah, and they want everyone to feel like that, and they want people to feel isolated and alone. And there's a real clever little spin and trick which they like to put out in there, being they like people like myself or people who are talking out, who've got loads of problems which they're sorting through, but yet are talking at the same time. A lot of people, and also people like myself who are really good at sorting out other people's heads and other people's lives. Everyone will say, used to say to me when I was younger, and say to me still now, how amazing I am. And when I was young, I always thought, and I've spoken to a few people, I've picked up that this is a common thing. They have us feel like if only they really knew what I'm really like, then they wouldn't be saying all these nice things about me. So you feel like a horrible person inside, and it doesn't matter how many people tell you that you're a good person. I don't now because I've got over that, but I did for many years. For many years, I've noticed a lot of people apologize for speaking when there's no need to apologize because they give people so many personality complexes. I mean, it's called mind control, and all of these things she said goes blank, narcissism, all of the psychiatric conditions which they're given names, apart from borderline personality disorder. These are all elements of obviously people that have been mind controlled, schizophrenia, all of the names which they label things. They came from the psychiatric heyday in the early 1900s. And so the reality is, this is what people have done to people's heads. It's behavioral psychology, isn't it? Nature or nurture.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I meant about the so-called MK Ultra program.
Yeah.
And I use that term so-called advisedly.
I don't necessarily think I answered your question then. I mean, you asked me how I handle it. I handle it by healing myself and understanding what's happened to me. And as I understand what's happened to me and get better, I share it in videos for other people. And I also spend a lot of time speaking to people one-to-one. I always have done. So I've always been
what's your video channel?
Nina Valentine.
What's your main thing you like doing with the video channel? What's your objective?
What do you want the name of it, or do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I know what it is, but could you tell the general public? I mean, they might want to pay attention.
Nina Valentine, Baseline Truth and Healing in Christ. Okay, that's the name of it. My YouTube channel. And I've got actually quite a wide range of things because I do walks and talks, which appeal to people that can't get outside or who live in cities and whatnot. Excuse me. But in those walks and talks, I'm talking about topics of interest to me. It's very rare that I'm just walking in the countryside and, talking nonsense. I'm pointing out the architecture or the people go on about chemtrails. However, I don't really hear people talking about the chem haze or like how they dissipate and they leave all this toxic clouds they look like cotton wool buds. And the clouds and these sunsets are so rarely actual natural skies.
Well, yesterday, it was really bad yesterday. Did you see anything? I was up near your area yesterday, about 100 miles south, but, it was really serious yesterday.
This today, we've probably had today what you had yesterday, because it's been pouring. It started last night, actually. I put washing out last night. I never do this. Put washing out last night thinking, because of going on holiday, I wanted them dry in the morning to pack. And of course it was pouring. So I got up at about 3 to bring the washing in because, and it was pouring all morning. It's still kind of going for it now. So I reckon that whatever you experienced was probably here now, and it's grey. And ironically, though, I noticed on the day before, either yesterday or the day before yesterday, they hadn't been spraying as much as normal, you know. But they were spraying a lot last week. I did Skywatch all last week. I did a load every day last week. I did videos of the sky.
Well, down at High Elms Manor, you had Kerry Cassidy and John Wolfson were sky watching on Saturday night. And the previous Saturday, I was on Knapp Hill, and we had a clear night, no clouds, and lots of stuff, but all high up there.
This is the thing, like just normal things, like, I mean, in general, normal things like the day-to-day weather that we see every day. We don't think to log it for a future date, do we? But in actual fact, think back to the skies when we were kids. If someone had been logging those skies and taking pictures, you could compare through the years as the skies went from being normal, or how they were before, to how they are now, where kids these days see chemtrails in the sky and they think that's normal. They know nothing else. This is their normal. They don't know a sky without stripes everywhere and cotton wool clouds from where they've dissipated into this thick smog. That's their normal, you know? It's crazy.
Well, yesterday the thing I saw was two distinct vapor trails, which I've spotted before. There's a vapor trail coming out of one engine and a completely different one coming out of the other engine. So what do you think about that?
Light and dark. Light and dark. Because they're not, well, what I've noticed before, I've seen them before spraying dark chemtrails. Everyone thinks chemtrails are white, but they're not. They're not.
It depends on the sun angle. The sun angle would make a heavy chemtrail.
No, I'm talking about black. I've seen black chemtrails. I haven't got no camera, I don't think, but I might have actually a couple of years ago. I'd have to look back. But no, I've seen them spraying black chemtrails before. Rarely. But when you think about it, if you want to mimic clouds, because these chemtrails do mimic the clouds when, the way they group together. Because if you watch the chemtrail being sprayed and then watch how it dissipates out, it doesn't start off that thick. It becomes this humongous thick. Like, I don't even know how to describe it.
The thing is, it doesn't blow away. It just keeps getting wider and thinner, and it is literally like it's a spray.
It drifts, and then it forms clouds, which I call chem clouds, because they're not normal clouds. I call them chem clouds. But people think this is normal. Oh, what a beautiful sunset. When it's toxic.
Yeah, it's Nibiru. It's Nibiru coming in. It's Nibiru, the planet from outer space is going to come and it's all covered in gold. Nibiru. And it can't do that because we've got a flat Earth. What do you think about that?
I think that the Earth is neither flat nor round. I think that that.
What do you mean flat in or round?
I didn't say that. I said I think the Earth is neither flat nor round. Is what I said.
That's a cop-out, Nina.
It's not a cop-out.
Come on, you can't have a non-round.
It's not a cop-out, Miles.
No, I have an idea of what you're talking about, but I want you to explain it.
I was, but you like to. Right, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can explain it in a way people will be able to follow. If you'd asked me this question this time last year, I was quite tuned into that. I've never researched the whole flat Earth thing, but a year or two ago, I think it was 2 years ago, it clicked in my mind, and it all made sense. It's not about the Earth being flat or round. I just don't know how to explain it properly. It's like various different levels. It's like if you imagine, it's like we've got all these coexisting realities alongside each other. We think we see things a certain way because we're taught to think we see things that way. But when you really, really look into it, I mean, properly yourself, I don't mean on a computer or, I mean, really think about it.
Well, exactly, not on
like a computer game in a way, where like you go on to the next level. It's like in the Matrix is actually the best way that I can describe. And the flat Earth theory although it's not discussed in that, it's a very good way to, as an analogy actually, because it's like different stages. There's different stages of heaven. There's different stages of hell. Hell's not all like fire and brimstones and like, it's not the way it's described to be. There's like so many different states of being. When you die, you don't just automatically either float off to heaven or get cast down to the depths of hell. It's not like that. We're taught things in a real, we're taught a tiny, tiny portion of what's really real. And then we're taught a massive portion of lies. And then we've got the actual truth, which is like here, like this is the actual truth, but that's the truth we're actually taught. And there's the lies we're actually taught. Everyone's taught everything in reverse. What do you think about the flat Earth, anyways? Because
I'm thinking about 3D, the so-called 3D existence that we exist in. That's a sphere. I mean, what other realities are around which are connected with that? Those are different things. But for ordinary, everyday life, sitting on this mud Earth, it's 3D in a sphere or a toroid.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's different levels of sight. Like. People don't all see things the same. And I mean that literally. I don't mean with thought projection. I mean literal vision. People see things differently. As in, I see a lot more than most people.
Well, that's the whole issue about consensus reality. What is consensus reality? You can expose an orange to people, and everybody can call that orange an orange. Like I'm wearing a yellow T-shirt. But we call this colour yellow.
Yeah, but that's because we've been taught that. That's what I'm trying to say.
But the actual colour that person could be seeing, for instance, if they're colourblind, would be a brown. Yeah. It would be a completely different colour, but they would call it yellow. But it wouldn't actually be. It would be seeing something different.
Yeah, that's the difference, though, isn't it? Between actually having a different visual spectrum, but not. I don't mean there's a difference between being taught things where you could be taught that, like you say, that blue is actually green and yellow is actually white or something. In actual fact, we're taught nonsense all the time. For all we know, there is. For all we know, we're living in a black and white world, which we've been taught to put colour into. Apparently, we're told we dream in black and white.
Well, I mean, if you look at yellow flowers, they're yellow to us because we don't have an ultraviolet spectrum, but to bees and other
this is what I mean.
Yellow is a completely different, multiple shade of different colours in the ultraviolet.
Yeah. And so it's a set bit with humans as well. It's like everything. When I was younger, I saw less than I do now. The more healed I get, the more I see, the more I understand, the more settled I am in myself, and the more calm as I am as a person. Because whilst I've always been really smiley and like how I am like interacting, I never used to be able to just sit and be. I never used to be able to relax. I always had to be on the go. I always had to be doing something, because if I sat down and was left to my own head and my own devices, I would literally feel like I was going mad. Whereas now I can just sit and relax and be at peace with myself. And this is a very recent thing, to be honest. It's only been the last few years, I'd say, since probably about 33 onwards, I've learned to finally learn how to live with myself in a peaceful, loving manner. I think we're all taught to not love ourselves, because if you think about how they ram, when I was growing up, it was supermodels that they were ramming down young girls' necks. And these days it's like the music, the pop idols and all this kind of thing. And people are taught to think that they're not good enough looking, that they're too fat or they're too thin or their nose is too big. In this day and age, people are taught to nip and tuck, aren't they? It's just people are not taught to love themselves. The most basic things that we need to be healthy, well, together, good human beings is to love ourselves, to be kind, considerate, to treat others as we want to be treated ourselves, not to act in anger or like if you like triggered into really feeling like enraged, that's not the time to react to the situation. You need to take some time and react when you've calmed down and thought about things. But people are like taught not to think, and they're taught not to have time to think. You know, they're taught everything is taught to people back to front, upside down, and topsy turvy. And people are always saying, how do we right these wrongs? It's actually really simple. We get the kids and we start teaching the children everything the right way. You know, forget all this PC nonsense, because that's just making everyone tiptoe on eggshells and never be able to relax or feel comfortable.
Well, talking about time, and you haven't packed yet, so that's another 3 days.
Well, yeah. What time is it? I'm day.
It's 2:52 p.m. on a Tuesday.
It's 2:52, is it?
Yeah, and 252. That's a useful frequency of a radio station I used to.
I told you I always get times like that.
Yeah. But the point is that you're going through this trauma, or you're going through this situation where you're being exposed to lots of problems, but you are analysing those problems and you're becoming better for it. Is that what's actually happening?
Yeah, definitely. When I was a little girl, I felt like in order to help people in life, I had to experience everything life had to offer. And then when I got older and I realized, oh my God, this is so difficult so difficult. This is hell. And I thought back to being a little kid who felt like the only way that I could properly empathize with others was by experiencing as much as I possibly could. You know, not everything literally, but you know, a lot. And then you have to find your way back, and it's so hard. It's so hard. And then you have to figure out what even made that happen in the first place. You know, what made me like I am? And for me, it's always been a journey of like self-discovery, but in a way where I can help other people. You know, some people think people that want to understand themselves are just doing it to be selfish and like self-obsessed, you know, the stereotypical American like in England, a lot of people like my mum think that in America, a lot of people go into therapy and spend all this time self-obsessing over themselves. When in actuality, what I do is by understanding myself and other people, I can help other people. I can give the tools to people like myself who usually feel abandoned and alone and isolated, because with people like me aren't that, you know, there's not really many people like me about. I don't know anyone else like myself. I know people who've got elements of me.
Each person is unique, Nina, but
Yeah.
you're especially unique because you're articulating this stuff, this kind of trauma that's happening to people, and you're telling people about it. You're exposing it.
Yeah, and that's why I get swollen feet, haircuts I don't want, and yeah, all sorts of fun like that. What can you do?
Well, time's
You know,
moving on. This is just a little update. We don't want to have you late for your thing.
Miles, before you go, I don't like bullies. You know, at the end of the day, targeting, it's bullying, you know? And so they want to silence me. It doesn't make me want to talk more or less. It makes me want to carry on being me and not be bullied or pushed into a corner. I don't want to push it and get killed by saying things just for the sake of saying them.
Well,
but on the other hand, I won't shut up. I just do what I'm doing, you know?
I mean, you did have an accident.
It wasn't an accident, was it? Let's face it. It was definitely not meant to be.
On the phone the other day, you weren't entirely happy about that. I think that's
Sorry?
On the phone the other day, you weren't really happy about that.
What do you mean?
Well, issue of you surviving that. You did think that they were going to kill you.
What do
Do
you
you want
know?
to
On
talk
the
about
road
that?
the other day, I was not happy about the apathy in the truth, so-called truth movement. I was ranting. I was having a rant about apathy. But regards the car wreck, I haven't mentioned that for a while. But I've always said, if an angel had not have held me down in the seat, I had no seatbelt on, not one airbag got set off in that car. It went flying into a wall. I've got no memory as I turned down the road, which half a mile later, my memory swipes there. My last thought is, thank God I'm almost home. My last thought is there. The next thing that I remember is a thud as the car tries to fly over the wall of the place where I used to work. Okay. And they've got lots of land, it wasn't literally by the house. Anyway, but only half a mile away from the house. So the car tries to fly over the wall. So it thuds into it and then it rolls. It rolls down the country, little tiny country road. Um, I have no seatbelt on and no airbags go off. And it lands on its side. And I didn't move a muscle because I got held perfectly into my seats by an angel. I mean, it was amazing. If that hadn't have been there, the windows smashed. It was pure chaos. It was pure chaos, I wouldn't, if I hadn't been killed, I would have been very, very seriously injured. It was nothing short of a miracle that day. For me to walk away with not even barely a scratch. The only thing that happened was my college bag fell from the passenger side to my side because the car was on its side and I was on the roadside. Other than that, not a scratch. No seatbelt. Like, I'm an idiot, I was an idiot. I should have had my seatbelt on, obviously, but no airbags going off. They're not just triggered by seatbelts, they're triggered by force. When that car banged into that huge dry stone wall, it tried to fly and then rolled and
Oh,
rolled
sorry.
and rolled.
Are you saying that the seatbelts, if you don't wear your seatbelt, the airbag will go off?
The airbag should go off, seatbelt or no seatbelt. Look, if you don't believe me, look into it. I've looked into it because at the end of the day, I walked away from a horrific, horrific car wreck, which I shouldn't have walked away from. No seatbelt on, didn't move a muscle. The police could not believe their eyes. They couldn't believe it. They were trying to cart me off to hospital, and I wasn't having any of it. I just, I knew that I was extremely fortunate to have got out of that car in one piece. I wasn't being cast off to hospital to be prodded and poked and for them to try and finish a job off there. Because I just needed a cup of tea and to get home.
Well, it's interesting that there's a couple of the key speakers in bases in Ireland. Two of the key ladies there, two of the two women there, really brilliant, excellent women, a bit like yourself, have all gone through absolutely horrendous car accidents and survived.
Yeah. And it's very interesting as well for me, the timing and everything. 3 months to the date after I'd left work thought I was going to go back. Bear in mind, I was used in the job I was doing. I was trained and used in that job to maximum potential for many, many years, and so they thought I'd go back. They really did. They were furious with me. And it might sound really dramatic. Oh, well, why would you try and kill somebody for that? But I don't want to go into too many details about this because I don't particularly want to talk about certain things. I'm only living 3 miles away from where I used to work. And I get watched by everyone who knows me to see how much I'm talking about and exactly what I'm saying. And let's face it, I do want to stay alive. So I talk about things as and when in a way which is safe. However, there was a lot of reasons why there was a lot of fury towards me not going back. And it was a lot more than just racehorses. We'll just leave it at that for now.
Oh my God, that means we'll have to have another episode. And what a delight it is, Nina. Finally, before you pack, are you okay for packing? Are you okay for time? Are you another?
Well, I'm all right I'm okay. 5 minutes tops, and then I'm going to have to go because time's knocking on.
Well, the bottom line is what is really happening with your legs and your body, and I mean, you've had a hard time, and you are concerned, and it's it's alarming, but you're looking pretty well. You're looking pretty bouncy, happy. Well, you're going on holiday. That's good. Uh,
To be perfectly frank, I don't particularly want to go on holiday.
oh, don't be such a bloody bore. God Almighty. That's when you
I'm
need to
going,
go on holiday.
I'm going for the salt, for the sea air and the salt water. I'm going because I think it's going to do me the power of good to spend as much time as I can in the sea and try and trigger my hair to grow again and my legs to to de-swell. And because salt's so healing, I just really feel like it's going to be worth the painful journey. It's going to be a very painful journey with such swollen legs before I even get on the plane. Can you imagine? I mean, well, I don't know if everyone's legs do, but my feet have always swollen when I'm traveling.
Yeah, well, they're not now are telling you to take
My
your
mother's
shoes
too.
off and stuff.
Yeah,
But I mean,
but
people must know that you have had a very serious leg injury. I mean, this was
hang
something
on a
that you.
moment. Yeah, that was my left leg. This is my right leg that's the worst. And
Okay, yeah.
this is my that was my knee. That's nothing to do with not. I've never ever in all of my life ever woken up and got out of bed with bright red soles of my feet and my legs swollen for no apparent reason. Have you? It's not
No,
like I've done
but
anything the day
um,
before.
there are some people who've had past life things, friends that burned at the stake and things like that, or whatever. They've had some kind of trauma in their previous life. Can you recall anything like that at all?
Well, I don't really believe in past lives in the way which people talk about them. At the end of the day, our spirits were never dead, like we're never not here. So we already have like seen and know and experienced everything that's been happening from day one. We just weren't in the flesh. So the way that people talk about past lives and the way I understand past lives to be are two different things. However, I did used to because you see everyone's in programming everyone's connected to an elemental magic basically. And when I was a little girl, I used to not only have these horrific night terrors, which basically was me seeing more than most see, but I had a recurring nightmare about the street burning down. And that was the only nightmare I ever remember having. But the street was burning down, and just as I was forgetting about, it's like one of those dreams where you're falling, and just before you fall, you wake up. Well, just as I was about to get burnt, Mum would wake me up because I would have been screaming out in my sleep. That was my reoccurring
No,
nightmare.
I'm saying that because a very close friend of mine, I won't mention her name, she has leg issues because she was burned at the stake several times because she was told by her so-called spirit guides or whatever you want to call it that she just
Yeah.
wouldn't learn. So she kept on coming back as a witch or whatever it
Well,
was and being burned at the stake. But that leaves a scar in your etheric energy field or what do you want to call it?
yeah. I think though, like I was programmed to not feel heat in, when you see people walking over hot coals. So part of my programming, like my granny, when I was a kid, I used to hear my family say that granny had cast iron fingers. And mum didn't have this. Mum used an oven glove. Granny would have cast iron fingers and get things out red hot. And so I did too. And it's disassociation in your mind, where your mind over matter, you don't feel the heat, so therefore you don't get burnt. It's elemental programming, isn't it? So to me, having fire dreams like I did, or nightmares when I was a kid, it makes sense now. But also the other interesting connection, of course, is to the fire, like to have these cast iron fingers, to have the fireproofing that I had as a kid and all my life up until recently. How interesting to connect that with my head at being on fire all through 2015, and now my feet on fire. Now the thing is, I know why. I know why I got targeted for my feet the other day. I know what it was about. I know why it happened, and it was a warning for me to not do something which is going to be really good for me, and that's why this has happened with my feet just now. So I always know why these things are happening. They don't just happen randomly, and I don't, it's not like things happen and I don't know why. I just can't always share the reason. The things which happened with my hair and everything after doing the basis interview with you, I got warned. Because in the basis interview with you the first time, because I didn't say too much, I got a warning when the hairdresser hacked my hair off. But because I carried on talking in my own YouTube channel and said so much more as time's gone by, they started and then because of the fact they couldn't control me anymore via my profession, which kept me in a perpetual state of both ecstasy from the joy of the horses, but also trauma, devastation, and hell. And that's just on the surface level. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. And so I always know why things are happening to me, you know, but definitely fire is very connected, but it's to do with being extremely psychic as well, isn't it? We've all got our God-given gifts, and um, because of all the fables and talk of witchery and witchcraft over the years, fire. I'm a Libran, which is an air sign. What does air and fire do together? Mum's a Leo, which is a fire sign, I think, isn't it?
Well, air fans the
And
flame.
air feeds fire.
Yeah.
Air feeds fire. My mother and I are like this all the time, and it's very
That's a lot
interesting.
common with daughters and mothers, isn't it?
Not like
Competition,
me
no?
and my mother, Miles, seriously. Think about it. It's generational mind control. It's generational programming. It's generational abuse. And if you've got somebody trying to break the cycle, because if I was happy to just put up and shut up, then I'd have a nice paycheck, a nice car, I'd have a horse probably, I'd have a nice life. But I'm not prepared to I'm not going to sell out. What? So that I have a happy life and everyone else lives misery and hell? Come on, it's not what I'm about. So I never have been. I couldn't. I wouldn't want, no interest in that.
There was some subject that you mentioned at that basis interview, which referred to somebody. I don't want to mention any names at all,
Hmm.
but that individual had a lot of, shall we say, was analysed by a number of other individuals to have got connections with some pretty serious off-planet or off-world resources and was considered dangerous. Do you think that what you're going through is an attack from those sources because those particular efforts were thwarted at that time?
I know that what I'm going through is I have to laugh because I'm pretty convinced you're on about Swerdlow, and I find it really
No,
like
I'm
difficult.
not talking about Swerdlow. No.
There's only Swerdlow or Rink that you could be talking about.
No, it was somebody else I'm not going to say, but she had long
Caswell.
black hair. And the kind of thing
Caswell.
you're going through is itchy.
Caswell.
No, no, I'm not going to.
But I can't think of anybody else. All right, I'll stop trying to guess
No,
because you
I don't
clearly.
want to mention names. I don't want to.
I won't do what you just so diplomatically tried not to do and mention all the names that it could have been. But in answer to your question, it's demonic, and it's not the aliens, the so-called aliens, and it's demonic. People have to be told this nonsense about them being aliens because it sounds it both feeds the imagination and gives a story people want to hear on one hand, whilst also keeping them trapped from being ever free from.
Yeah, I mean
And
exactly that's the point. If you call them aliens, they're from far, far away, distant place,
yeah, and
and
it's
it takes
also
a
like
long time for them to get here. So, but if they're demonic, they're here. you know, they're just
Yeah,
come through the
yeah.
portal.
And going back to the flat Earth thing, it's like the interdimensional thing. Like you said, is Earth flat or round? Well, think about the interdimensional thing where you've got all these different degrees within the same, for like we're here now, but we're not the only ones here now. I could have someone's Uncle Bob sat up to my right, and I could have Levi, I'm not going to start naming demons. Actually, there could be some kind of demons
Anyway,
to my
yeah.
left. We just don't know. And then there could be an angel just there. I mean, at the end of the day, we see glimpses of these things, but we don't see the full spectrum of the realities which are around and within ours, as we are within theirs. So, we see what we're meant to see, and then some of us see more.
Okay, well, finally, I'm going to say finally, because we're actually coming up
Yeah,
almost an hour,
yeah,
dear
yeah.
wonderful Nina. What's your bottom line? What's your parting comment? And we'll say good day for now.
Um, I would say what's really, really important at the moment, and not just at the moment, but in general, is to really, really be aware of what you're putting your energy into, because they're really trying to trigger responses, and people are very easy to trigger a certain response out of. Think about it. If you want to make someone angry, you don't have to know them that well to know how to anger them. But when you've got things working on all these levels where it's not just human, it's demonic, it's there's a system in place, and that system is demonic and human, okay? And it's also a classist, there's so many different systems within systems, but it's all working together. So to trigger certain emotions in people is very easily done. And we need to be aware of what we're like, how we're reacting to situations. And when something happens, which is going to really anger us, ask ourselves, why do they want to create such a level of anger coming from out of us? What do they want to use that energy for? And do we really want to feed that rage, which they've triggered out of us? Do we want to give them that? Do we want to give them pure rage? Why would we want to do that? Why would we
That's
want to
very
feed
interesting what you said there about rage, because I've certainly been in a situation where they really, really wanted you to get really angry.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And it's not easy to override that. It takes some serious self talking to ourselves, like within our own minds, obviously. But it takes a lot to override that. But it's really important because we've got very strong, powerful minds. And especially the more gifted amongst people, the people like us, the people who know what's really going on, or are at different stages of finding out what's really going on. People that are going to be targeted more. Everyone's energy is an issue. Where everyone's feeding their energy, that's an issue. But especially the people who've got the power to change things. Because if we're putting our energy into changing things in the right ways, then their nefarious plans they fall apart and unravel. However, when we get swept up into the things, look at the UK, look at all the things which have just happened. Look at the things which have just happened. It's an absolute disgrace. We've had Ariana Grande in Manchester, then we've had the London Bridge, and then we've had this horrific fire. Free events, the Holy Trinity, free events have happened. What emotion are people feeling? Triggered rage, you know? And then at the same time, we've got the parliamentary events where we're like in this hung parliament, surprise, surprise, it's become what was pretty obviously going to happen, because if you're working towards a one world government, which actually is already in place, but people don't really realize that, but then you've got to have these coalitions, haven't you? Um, yeah, it's really important to try and override the triggered response they're trying to get out of you. and really ask yourself, why do they want me to, they want me to feel and think and act this way because they're harvesting my energy, your energy, our energy. What are they using that for? And do you really want to put your energy into that system?
Soul trading?
Well, if we allow ourselves, if we've been triggered to feel rage and we're feeding into that, they're using our rage for something. If we've been triggered, it's not all just about feeling rage. They might trigger a group of people to feel really happy. What are they using that for? If we're all being triggered if we there's a difference between natural emotions which come organically, which are our own organic natural emotive responses, and triggered responses. So if something's a triggered response, a triggered reaction, we need to ask ourselves why. Why do they want us to do this, and do we want to feed into that? Because if you really are wanting to change the world, rather than just, a lot of people in the truth movement are researching it, but are they managing to change anything, or are they just busy researching? I'm not criticizing anyone, but
That's a very good point, Nina. Are they actually changing things?
Yeah,
what's actually happening?
Yeah, if all you do all day is sit and watch all these videos on YouTube about devastation and hell and Satanism and rituals and all of this stuff,
Oh,
then
I
you're
thought it
actually,
was my phone.
sorry, no, it was
I thought it
mine.
was my phone, but actually it was your phone. Could we hold phones up, please? Yeah, there's your phone,
Yeah, but
and
I
there's
have the
my
next one
phone.
for
Oh
work.
yeah, yeah. So we both got the same ringtones. So
Back to what
maybe
I
it's
was
time
saying.
for us to go.
Oh, you've just completely managed to blast it away. What
Oh
was I saying?
no.
Seriously, at the end of the day, what good is researching if all we're doing is feeding our heads full of this darkness? Where's the joy? Where's the life to live? Okay, so you've got a head full of devastation and hell and trauma and pain, but is that actually changing anything? Or is it just keeping you miserable and down and having a really tough life? you know I'm not saying don't research, but I'm
Well,
saying that
that feeds back to your earlier point. You could be, you have a nice horse, have a nice house, if you go back to work, everything be
I'm
fine, and
not
they love
saying
you.
be blind. There's a massive difference, Miles. I'm not saying be blind. I don't sit online all day researching things, and yet here you are interviewing me, asking me about stuff, but I'm not getting my information online. I'm not sitting, like, I make my videos and I think and I live my life. So why are you interviewing somebody who doesn't research all this stuff online, but yet still has things to contribute which are current and valid and of use?
Well,
And as
the
I
whole
say, I
point
always look
is
happy.
to do this, is to get raw frontline information and see what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, I interview me,
You do,
but
because
I'm
I
just
haven't a
saying,
clue. I don't know. What am I here for? I have no idea.
what are you here for? What are you here for? You've got a lot more idea now since you and I met than you did before. I think you've been on a real journey of self-discovery this last few years, especially moving out of London. It's a good thing for you.
Well, you're up north, and I'm down south, but in the Midlands, and I'm in Wiltshire here.
Yes.
And it's good to see you again in the sunshine and the summertime. And you're going
Oh,
to a nice place. Hopefully, you're going to really have enjoy yourself.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping to film whilst I'm over there, so let's hope that my camera stays alive for long enough. Right then, edit that bit out and say
Okay, I'll
cheerio.
say this. Okay, Nina, thank you so much for coming back. Have a nice time and get better, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thank you, Miles, and do take care. We'll speak again soon.